Hi. So I have been asked to say a few words about online learning versus traditional learning, and so I've put together a few thoughts, and I don't know if everything that I want to share is everybody's experience, but the prompt is a little personal. So what I'd like to start with is that based on my experience, both as a parent, my son has taken some online courses in two different kinds of settings. Two of his classes, his freshman year in high school, were completely online using the Edgenuity software. And in middle school in the 8th grade, he was part of a blended learning team. And so they did use Edgenuity, I think on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then they were in class with the teacher but without the computers on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and he did that for all of his core subjects. So I've got experience both as a parent and then, as a student also. So I understand why Glass and Wiener are critical of those who equate online learning with face-to-face learning. Now, that doesn't mean that I believe that all of it is bad or negative. That is not the case at all. Because I'm certain that for some learners with some subjects, online learning is a good fit. But I think that by and large, my experience with online learning is more typical of the average learner, at least in the attendance zone where I live and teach. What online learning can't do is replicate the adaptive personal relationship that students have with a skilled teacher in the traditional environment. Now, I know that some software can be adaptive where it increases or decreases the speed and complexity based on a learner's answers. But what it cannot do is know what the student is interested in, what their passions are, what kind of activities they are involved with outside of school, and then use that knowledge to make the examples or the explanation help them make that connection. I often do that a lot, particularly in teaching writing. I can stand up and I can give the lesson, and 80% of them will get it, but then I still have those 20% that need to have it redelivered differently. In my experience, online learning hasn't really been conducive to that kind of redelivery. This semester, or last semester, my student was taking a health course online, and it was module based, and if he had a question about the content of a particular video or a module and he couldn't find the answer and he needed the instructor's assistance, then he had to sometimes wait a few days for the instructor to get back to him. Now, in a traditional environment, that face-to-face interaction happens very regularly. Even if the teacher had been otherwise engaged, another student in the room might have been able to give him that answer or provide that assistance. And so this is where I kind of agree with Glass and Wiener in that those online courses just don't lend themselves to that kind of relationship. And that's important because what we know from all of our educational psychology classes, they tell us that students learn best when they're getting that information from someone who has a vested interest in them as people beyond the classroom walls. So in my experience at Thomas University, all of my discipline-specific courses, all of my English courses are completely 100% online, and I believe that that may be the only discipline at Thomas University that has that unique feature. So, in my writing class or in my Shakespeare class, I don't know my classmates very well, even though I recognize some of their names from a previous class. We just communicate through the discussion boards. That also means that I don't have a true relationship with my professors. I'm not able to see them, so I can't see their body language or interpret the nuances of their personality. So my professors, at Thomas University have been more than willing to talk by phone, and so that helps. But that's really different than one of the very first courses that we took with the FIP modules. Watching those videos and clicking through those worksheets was mind-numbing. I don't honestly know if I remember a lot of what we covered. And so that brings me to my final point, is that those interpersonal communication skills are still really a very vital part of the learning process. And most online learning courses are missing that component. So while many people may get decent grades in those courses, I'm not yet convinced that their learning is as rich or as meaningful as it is in a traditional environment. So finally, I think that the best scenario is one where we have the mixture of both, and that's the beauty of the flipped classroom. The students get those real-world skills of using that technology. They can go at their own pace, but they still have that human connection. They're not sacrificing that part of it. And so therefore, their learning is a bit more meaningful. So there is my response to page 228. Thank you very much.